Okay, Kitty Pies, it's August 29, 2020, and I just got back from a trip from Connecticut to pick up my 1926 or 27 Berkel antique meat slicer. I bought this back in March, right when the pandemic hit. I bought it. I couldn't pick it up because I was in quarantine, I guess. So a friend of mine went and picked it up for me and kept it at his house up in Torrington, Connecticut. So I just went up this weekend to pick it up, and I want to thank Ryan for keeping it in such good shape for me. But anyways, I got a really good deal on this. Now these slicers were invented by Van Berkel. He invented the first slicer back in 1909 or 1907, something like that, and he gradually changed them a little bit. But these slicers are preferred to slice prosciuttos with because the blade doesn't turn as fast and it doesn't melt the fat. And there's my Russian samovar, charcoal fired. And they still use these slicers today in good delis and good restaurants. And in a good restaurant, they'll wheel these up right to your table, these big machines, and hand slice prosciutto at your table. And they slice wafer thin. And they take little tweezers as they come off the blade. And even all the Wegmans, their delis today, will still have these in there. And you could ask to have your prosciutto or whatever deli meat you want sliced on these. And they're hand crank. And this one is very, very unique because usually these are really beat up. You could see the blade, how nice and shaped that is, how it shines. Usually they're all rusted and chipped up. A lot of times the blades are even missing. Now this here is the porcelain milk tray, they call it. It's where it catches the meat. These usually aren't even, these are just usually missing all the time. Very rare that you get it with it. And another thing is this is the sharpener. Usually these don't even come with them either because they're usually busted right here for people dropping them. And the chrome on this is actually really good. The stones are good. So here's the little meat flap deflector. This one I bought from the original owner. They had a deli in Connecticut. It's been in the family for 94 or something years. Guy was getting too old, decided to sell it. Now here's the original decals for it. He built these in Indiana. He came over from Italy, built the factory in Indiana, and invented the meat slicer. Look at the detail on this back then. They even pinstriped the meat slicer. And look there, it says oil. It's pretty interesting. There's the blade. Very rare that blade is in good shape. Matter of fact, when I was putting a plastic bag over, I just touched the blade and it cut my finger. That's how sharp that thing is. Here's the original ID patent tag on it. And there's the more of a detail of the pinstriping. And there, if you look there, another oil indicator. And this is the front of the machine. That's the hand crank. Now, some of them came with flowered wheels, more intricate. This one isn't as nice as some of them, but that's still pretty cool. It's all original lettering on there. So this is how it works. You take your prosciutto or meat, whatever you're gonna do. You put it on here. You move this up, and push it down, and hold the meat onto the slicing tray. This is your dial indicator, how thick you want it. And then what you do is, I'm going to try and do this without moving the phone too much. But as I crank, you see that going back. And as it cranks, it pushes, that tray gets indexed every time. It gets pushed in. So if you want it super thin, you set it for super thin. You want it thicker, it goes in increments. Very cool. Now I don't know, this is in such good shape. I don't know if I'm just going to clean it up and use it the way it is, or I might take it apart and totally restore it. Now the next generation of his slicer that he came up with, which is what the modern day slicers are designed after, are these here. This one I picked up about 8 years ago up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And this was in kind of a rough shape. I stripped it down, I had everything re-chromed. And once again, there's the tray, but they chromed them back then. There's the the sharpener. Basically almost the same design as that one, just a little different shape. Once again, it has the meat tray, and you would pull this back and put your meat in there, and it's spring loaded. And this is just like the modern ones today, but they have motors on them. Now this is called the slot machine Model H hand crank. So what you do is you put your meat in there, pull back on this, and just back and forth with the slot machine handle. And when you do that, it turns the blade, and the meat gets pushed in to the increment. Once again, your thickness gauge here, however thick you want it. This one came out really nice. You don't see a lot of these either because people don't collect these as much as they collect those there. But when I got this, I asked a guy from Italy in California if they would restore it, and the guy just laughed at me. He said, "No, we've never restored one of those. You're on your own." So I said, "Okay, I'll do it. I can do it." So I took it all apart, and the thing looks amazing. The only thing I don't have for this is the original decals, which I probably can get, but it's beautiful, and that's the original color on it too. So hopefully tomorrow I'll clean it up and get some prosciutto on there, and I'll slice it and show you how it works. You can go on YouTube, and the videos on there are amazing. Okay, kitty pies.